Shane, what I was going to say is that you look extremely cool with a toothpick in your mouth.
He looks very cool lately. The hair and everything is really just working.
I think it's also the wife beater. It kind of it's a toothpicky look, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a little
I didn't even notice
intimidated
you were
by
wearing
you,
one.
frankly.
Yeah, it's a good look.
Yeah.
Maybe I would love to see you like sitting up against a brick building with like 1 foot up against it, and you're like snapping your fingers.
Yeah, you need a cigarette pack.
I was gonna say the problem with the wife beaters, you can't roll a cigarette pack up in your sleeves.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you got the overshirt. You do it in that, I suppose.
You're right.
Then you have the wife beater also.
Once you're annoyed all the way.
Rollo is like so confused that
West
we're
Side Story.
both talking and we're in different rooms. He looks like really distressed right now.
Good.
Buddy.
No,
Good. I'm glad.
Okay.
he seems like a very sweet pupper.
He's a good boy. Oh, you didn't get to meet him when you visited us. That's right.
Those are not the words I would use to describe him.
He's
but-
nice.
No.
He's fine.
He's a good boy.
With his electric eyes.
He's got some piercing eyes.
He loves
He's a
Chris,
hot
dude.
dog.
He loves Chris.
He did like me.
Do you remember, like, I don't know, maybe even over a year ago it might have been. There was, like, from some Nazi corner of the internet, there was this graphic that was generated that was, like, the pyramid of eyes of, like, the different, like, eye color phenotypes.
Oh, yeah.
Ranked according to, like...
That sounds right on. That sounds right, yeah.
And so, you know, and of course it was like, you know, dark colored eyes were at the bottom, and then as it slowly went up, you approached like very light blue eyes. And, you know, then next to this pyramid, it was like, you know, it ranked your social status or what have you that you were destined for. And at the very top, it was, you know, it had these like bright blue eyes, and it was like, you know, world conquerors, once in a generation masters. And you know, the post obviously then to do is you close screen grab of that and then a close up of Rollo's eyes.
Oh no. Yikes. That is, you know.
Sorry, I had to step away to give Rollo a bone, so I missed this conclusion of the eye pyramid.
We were doing
story.
race science.
We were doing race science.
With
Dog
Rollo's
chronology.
eyes.
Yes. Yikes. Was that you added that as the joke, or somebody from Nazi Twitter you know, did that with your dog's eye?
No. That was the response joke. You know, it circulated very quickly in left Twitter, and people were all making fun of it as they should, because it was a ridiculous proposition.
You know, I can't help but mention this because I honestly had the best time I've ever had on Twitter was like last night, making fun of hedge funds with hashtag re-energize Exxon.
That's pretty good.
Oh man, it's, you know, this is what's I love it so much because, and for those that weren't familiar with it, long story short, I found out that there is a hedge fund called Engine Number One, which is astroturfing the internet, with basically a plan to change board seats on ExxonMobil because they're unhappy with the kind of capital expenditure strategy that the current board is doing, and they only have like a $40 million stake in it. But basically, and I'm reading from their website here, engine1.com, it says, "We are Engine Number One, an investment firm purpose-built to create long-term value by harnessing the power of capitalism. We believe a company's performance is greatly enhanced by the investments it makes in workers, communities, and the environment, which is why they want to do better climate holocaust through hydrocarbons." And so basically they did this campaign called hashtag re-energize Exxon.
Okay, let me look for that, because I just searched for Engine Number One on Twitter, and all I found was Thomas the Tank Engine shit. So
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the
Hashtag is hashtag re-energize Exxon.
Okay.
And I'm reading here from Houston Chronicle. It came out a few days ago. It says, an activist investor has launched a proxy fight against ExxonMobil, pressuring the U.S. oil giant to focus more on renewable energy to improve its financial performance. Again, it has nothing to do with, like, you know, it's a profit motive. It's not like, you know, hey, we're going to make this world greener.
I love activist investors.
But it's, you know, the best kinds, if we're being honest. And here we are yeah, I knew, Chris, I knew you would love it. I'm surprised
I'm
you
looking
didn't
at
see
the
this
one. I'm
last
looking
night.
at the one. I believe you quote tweeted it. Praying to save our God-given natural resources in USA as engineers and scientists place environmental needs concerns first. I have confidence in the oil and gas industry to communicate efforts. I took this pic in my backyard, East Texas oil field, and it's like a rainbow over just this grim fucking like
Yes.
skyline of oil wells.
If she had at all tilted the camera down, you would have just seen like a barren landscape, like from that scene in Fantasia where like all the dinosaurs are turning to mud.
Oh man.
Oh gosh.
Which is kind of the point of the whole thing. But anyway, for those that are interested, show us your best hashtag re-energize Exxon pictures.
You know what that just reminded me of? When I went to Houston, I went to some kind of like science museum, and there was a lot of stuff about like energy, and all the stuff was framed as like, no matter what happens with climate change, scientists agree that oil is going to play a big role in our future. It was like a children's science museum, and it was just all like bullshit.
Because we're all going to fucking die from it, I think is what the implication is.
Yeah, we need fossil fuels.
It's just so funny to me. Like, of course, we did the same thing with hashtag PragerForce, which was, I would think a resounding success. Which is like, here's this multi-billion-dollar hedge fund and extremely muddied interests that are trying to, make this bullshit social media campaign to, I don't know, make their long-term positions in the stock go up. Be completely fucking derailed by a bunch of weirdos, and I love it for that. Feels good, man.
When you were talking about the energy museum for kids or whatever, I was thinking like they're all in the like 40s and 50s, right? Which was sort of the height of this genre. I think Rick Prelinger calls like sponsored films, which are like, it's a kind of blanket term for all those weird movies that came out in the 50s. Like, they're usually on like 16 millimeter. You show them in classrooms that were like, like that were some on the scale ranging from like, communism is going to like eat your children, to like, why if you're a girl, you should be quiet in class. Like those, like those kinds of like, social propaganda films that were largely funded by like, church groups and Rotary clubs and, and then various capitalist interests, for a wide range of like weird conformist right-wing beliefs. There's a whole like kind of subcategory of them that were made by companies that were like, it was basically like especially pre-television. It was like these were designed as video commercials, or film commercials, I should say, moving picture commercials that would like show in movie theaters before movies. So you'd like, when you back in the day, you'd spend a nickel for a movie ticket and you'd get to see 2 pictures in a cartoon. And then like before that, you'd see like a newsreel, and then you might see like a sponsored film. Yeah. And so the sponsored films were then usually done in the format of newsreels, and there were a whole bunch of them made by like, every major American company.
Brought to you by Philip Morris. 4 out of 5 doctors prefer them.
Right, exactly. Like seriously, and usually I've watched so many of these because when I was making films, I did a bunch of films where I was like taking this content, because a shitload of it, like I mentioned Rick Prelinger before, shitload of it is available now online for free at archive.org in the Prelinger archive, and there are these like 40-minute video films that are like, again, made by these companies at that time. And if you watch them, as I did, for hours and hours on end, they're very amusing. And there's a whole bunch of them that are like from oil companies from the 1950s that are masked from the 30s to the 50s, I should say. They really stopped around the time when television and that kind of, short form commercial advertising really took off, or then, you got used to like a 30-second ad thing that you would sell on television. But before then, there were like 45-minute videos that were like talking about the entire history of the United States. So it was like masked as like a neutral presentation of history. And then the last 15 minutes, it'd go like through like George Washington and the Constitution and all, bullshit liberty. And in the last 15 minutes, it would just be like oil derricks, like ruining the earth and being like, and we stand in the same tradition as Thomas Jefferson or whatever. And that was also in the 1950s was like when the peak oil theory, I believe, was first proposed. The idea that, this is a finite resource, you can't indefinitely exploit it, especially geographically, right? Like there's only X amount of oil in Texas. When that's done, you're out. And so there are all of these like counter films made to that were often done in the guise of like children's cartoons. But there was one where, again, it's like the entire history of the United States, and the framing of it is like the United States has been done by bold pioneers, and then there's like a Aryan-looking, masculine, manly man, and it's like a man through the ages,
problematic.
And he's there, like he's like there at the founding of the country. He's like one of the brave pioneers, and then he's one of the brave revolutionaries, and then he's one of the brave men of industry, and at the very end he's like an oil man. And then throughout that entire like history that they go through, they also created this like shrimpy beta guy who's like always telling him like, you're dreaming too big, you can't have a free country, like you can't invent the railroad, you're gonna make horses go out of style. He's like the bitchy naggy naysayer beta boy throughout all of time. And then at the very end, the manly masculine man is like fucking plundering the earth for oil, and the guy comes up, the little shrimpy guy comes up, and he's like, oil's gonna run out, oil doesn't last forever. And the like masculine guy just squirts oil in his face, and it's like very erotic. It's a very erotic cartoon. And it's so weird that again that they tried to code like climate realism as like feminine, like trying to be like, oh, you're weak-minded because you think that oil is gonna run out, and then of course like 20 years later, like the oil boom in Texas is just like over. It's like it's just literally just like fucking endless lines of defunct oil fields and oil derricks collecting rust. That's what I'm fucking with.
Which is exactly what that lady fucking
right. It's censored out of that picture. Yeah.
Exactly. I was thinking about this because I remember I can't recall the name of the fucking film, but it was like a 1950s propaganda film put out by something like General Motors or Ford or something like that. That was a discussion around the interstate highway system coming through a small town. And it was like a dramatization of it. And basically, the idea was like, some old farmer was just like, but why should I have to drive half an hour just to be able to take my eggs into town? I'm going to have to go all the way around this proposed interstate highway system, you see? But, what it came down to was like, it kind of tugged on the heartstrings of the American public, or that was at least its intention, to be like, hey, it's actually empowering to not only have your voice heard with the new Eisenhower interstate highway system, but also like this is going to improve your lives. Of course, what they're doing as well, through the production of this is like, destroying communities, putting this in through cities, right. Like making using eminent domain specifically in areas of color in certain cities. I know we've talked a lot about this on the program before, Chris, with Richmond, having been, completely excised the black area in town in Richmond. And there was another one that I was just taking a look at too that was called Give Yourself the Green Light from 1954, which was sponsored by General Motors. And it says here, expresses need to modernize America's antiquated highway system, shows frustrated drivers who turn into sheep, excellent street and highway driving sequences, city skylines and country scenics, well-made corporate propaganda advocating better roads and highways, part of the lobbying process that led to the passage of the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, the authorization of the interstate highway system. Basically, it's just, entire public-private partnership.
Here's another fun wrinkle. You know what the entire national highway system is based off of, and why Eisenhower did it.
I have a feeling.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. So in the 30s, one of the Nazis' big, kind of like state plans, and I think it might have existed prior to the Nazi takeover, but then Nazi engineers redesigned it or added stuff to it, and they made it like a big boon of propaganda. Was the development and the building of the Autobahn, right, which was the national highway system in Germany, and of course with pure German efficiency, it truly was an amazing highway system. And part of that as well was then the development of what was, the Nazi pet project of the people's car, the idea that everybody in the country was going to get a car, which is the beginning of the company Volkswagen, which is literally the people's car. So little Nazi company if you like your little bug
Just
there.
a little touch of Nazi.
But and of course, because this was like some grand economic plan that was proposed, for like pure ethnic German drivers or whatever. And because of the war, like every other grand plan, it just never materialized, right? Like the idea that every family was going to get a car never happened. And so as a result, this like beautiful and perfectly designed highway system was never used by Germans until then in the middle of the war, when the Luftwaffe realized that it actually made the smooth asphalt made for pretty good runways. So they used the Autobahn, to launch like, the 4 planes they had left by the time it got to 1944 or whatever, to launch their little sorties. And Eisenhower, who was head of logistics, greatly appreciated the Autobahn as then American soldiers and trucks and tanks and stuff were invading the west of Germany, and he thought, this is a pretty good idea. These Krauts got a whole system. So really, it was like fucking Sherman tanks and like Jeeps that made use of the Autobahn, and then they were like, let's bring that home. As and then every other awful Nazi idea was also brought home.
Yeah.
Right. And like we even had our own like vicious anti-Semite making the people's car for the United States.
Right, exactly.
You get a free copy of the International Jew with every Model T.
This is I have to quote one of our good friends, Solidarity Goth, because they had a fantastic tweet the other day, which was the majority of war is logistics. So it's really important to pay attention to logistics in non-war time, where you will find a much quieter class war.
That's an excellent
point. It's and I have to bring this up too, because again, in our continuing series about how I think Andrew Cuomo is one of the most deleterious fucking goon chumps in our governors in our country. A startling statistic out of the liberal utopia of New York City, which is that in February, 3-1 is the ratio of white people to black and Latino people in New York City getting the COVID vaccine.
Oh, dude.
Again,
yeah, of course.
Here in Philly, it's like completely
3-1.
like the difference between the percentage of black people getting the vaccine and the percentage they are of the population. It's just like insane. Like, not to mention everything else about the rollout here, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw even, I wish I could find it again. Somebody posted like a city map of Washington, D.C. and like, the districts or whatever in the city. Like, it was like, here's where the concentrations of COVID cases are. Then here's the people who are getting the majority of the vaccines. And like, it's really very stark. It's the complete opposite.
Oh, yeah.
Parts of the city.
Northwest is just, covered in vaccinations and all that stuff.
I mean, that's just an extension of the normal medical discrimination that black people experience. Like, there's no reason to think that the vaccination plan would be different than like every day, which is black people getting ignored when they're in pain or when they're sick and whatever.
And the other statistic, another 3-1 ratio, which is why it's even more fucking sick, which is coupled with this, which is black and Latino patients die at a 3-1 ratio to white people from COVID.
Yeah.
So again, black and Latino people are dying at a rate 3 times higher than white people, and yet white people are getting 3 times higher the amount of COVID vaccines in the city of New York, at least.
Did you see the New York City SoulCycle instructor that got the vaccine and posted about it?
Yes.
I did.
I hate her so much, dude.
Because she classified herself as an educator.
Yeah. All my elderly SoulCycle, students, she said. I hate her.
That is I mean,
and then when she
again,
deleted that, like the last post she had was like a post about MLK, and I still responded to like, how did you get the vaccine, Stacey? Tell us. Awful.
I mean, again, just perfect white fragility. I'm an educator. That's why I need it.
I'm an essential worker at SoulCycle.
Unbelievable. Just, soul cycling it up for yuppies. Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, this is, again, I cannot, I can't emphasize enough just how much of a fucking monster Andrew Cuomo is. I mean, what a sleeper. Like, that's what's so crazy for me is, the kind of mainline Democrat apologia that is surrounding him now and making it okay.
Where are the Cuomo-sexuals?
Do not say Cuomo-sexual to me.
Well,
I excise that
say
somehow
it. I
from
was
my
just
memory, and you
repeating
just You just brought it back to the tip of my fucking mind.
There's like a white Soul Cycle instructor who's already been vaccinated who is wearing a Cuomo-sexual t-shirt right now and has like a little wine koozie that says Cuomo-sexual, and she's just like hanging out on her patio right now.
It's 100% right. I guarantee you that person exists.
I think it's worth mentioning as you kind of dipped in there. This is my first night drinking for about 3 weeks now. I held off and
that's why I'm so drunk, because I was doing that with you.
Back to my now that you've brought Cuomo-sexual back to my fucking vocabulary, I'm glad.
I mean, while we're talking about that, for anybody who doesn't know, here in Philly, they let a 22-year-old grad student ran an organization called Philly Fighting COVID run the vaccine rollout.
Yes.
He was pocketing vaccines. He turned the operation from nonprofit to for-profit overnight. So everybody else who, like me, was like, I should put my information into this website that the news said to put my information into, we're probably just going to have like our data sold. And even the kid who was doing it was like, why did they let me do this? And I think like one person has resigned over this. So
I didn't even hear about this.
Yeah, I mean, and what he said was like, but we got it done better than like the city was doing, so you can't really be mad at us. And he's not even like 100% wrong. Like, they were at least vaccinating some people, but he was also like stealing stuff. So it's like, who can say if there's a better way? Can't think of one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have to bring this up because I'm reading this from the NPR article about this guy whose name is Andre Doroshin.
Yeah.
And he said the marketing plan hinged on inoculating local celebrities like rapper Meek Mill.
Oh, that's great.
A Philadelphia native, in order to attract his fan base. And this is a quote from him.
Let's go.
Said, "This is a holy Elon Musk shooting for the heavens type thing."
Yeah, dude. Yeah, somebody said he's like a billionaire mindset kind of guy. He's like a self-improvement guy or whatever, which like
success win.
You know what? Everybody is stupid.
Shooting for the heavens. Their rocket literally exploded
multiple times.
in the
air.
Why
he molded
that's what
himself.
Shooting for the heavens
Did you see that post that was like, it was like a video of the thing exploding, and it was like, this is so great. They're gonna get so much data from this. This is beautiful.
I got a lot of data from that. There is a lot of data.
The data I got? Stop spending money on space exploration. That's the data that I got from that. Mm-hmm. Solve world hunger, Elon Musk. That's what I got.
I like he said. I love the verbiage he's using here. He says again, this fucking 22-year-old kid. He said, "We're gonna have a preemptive strike on vaccines."
If you look at his quotes from now, they're literally
happen?
like, "Why did they let me do this? I'm just a 22-year-old psychology grad student." And it's like, yeah, why did they let you do? That's a good question. It's not a question for him. He's a fucking idiot. I was a fucking idiot when I was 22, but nobody
I wasn't.
Like one article that I was reading
I was incredibly smart.
I'm still an idiot.
I still am too. I would not run this, but we have here in Philly, we have the Penn medical system, which is one of the most advanced in the world. We have people here that are skilled to run this vaccine rollout. They didn't go to Penn. They didn't go to Drexel. They didn't go to any of the experts to do this. So a 22-year-old kid came and was like, "Hey, what if me and my friends do the vaccine rollout?" And they were like, "Okay."
Can you imagine?
It's criminal. That's criminal.
And this is and here's the same exact fucking statistic that we see in New York. At that point, only 12% of vaccinated Philadelphians were black in a city where 44% of residents were black.
I was gonna say it's almost half.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
I mean, part of it is that the whole vaccine rollout everywhere. One of our friends, Jackie at Easy Treasy, was talking earlier about helping an old man sign up for getting the vaccine, because in her city too, it's all based online. The idea that every single person who needs the vaccine, especially people who need it the most, are tech literate enough to not only find this website but know how to sign. Some people don't have fucking some old people just don't have email.
Yeah,
right.
My grandfather doesn't have fucking email. If you told him you need to go online and sign up, he'd be like, "What is that? Is that AOL? Is it Nintendo?" He wouldn't fucking know.
I went the other day to get my yearly eye exam, and my doctor was telling me, she was like, in the beginning of the pandemic, we were trying to do video visits. And she was like, the first video visit that I had was with a 94-year-old patient of mine.
Come on.
And she was like, we were just like, this is a fucking disaster. This isn't going to work.
Do you wear glasses?
So I wear contacts, and I have, where is it here? I have it somewhere here. One stem from my glasses. I need some new ones because I've been wearing them with only one stem
Oh no.
for like at least 6 months,
Oh god.
and it's a problem.
That would be such a like nice look for you, the glasses. That's why I asked.
I'm trying to think if I surely I've seen you in glasses.
I feel like I never have
I
seen
just-
Dwight in
I
glasses.
feel like I must have commented on it, but yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, no, I just I got like the kind of horn rim glasses, so I continue to look like I'm from the 1980s, working
Hey.
at Pierce and Pierce mergers
I
and
think
acquisitions.
I think we should all be wearing the kind of glasses I have.
They're good glasses.
Yeah.
I think I would look psychotic
They are
if I
good
was wearing
glasses.
those glasses,
Just
so I'm not gonna do that.
Just aviators of all
Like the
kinds.
cult leader
I
glasses.
love aviators, but yeah,
It's a great look on Shane.
I just got a Costco
Shane.
membership, so that's gonna get a pair of aviators. 'Cause
Hell
that's
yeah,
good.
dude.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Right.
Shane, I see you, and I want to be. I wish that you and I could have been in like 1970s New York, like Taxi
Yeah.
Driver New York, and have been gotten into some Mad Hat capers in Times Square and shit.
I never want to be in Times Square in any year.
Man, definitely not now.
Did I ever tell you
No.
there was so I saw Taxi Driver when I was a teenager, and
Mhm.
especially being a New Yorker,
Hey.
and being familiar with Scorsese's more modern. I grew up with like Goodfellas, and so then like seeing Taxi Driver a little bit on, and when I was like getting into film and stuff, I was like, oh my god, this movie. You're like 16 and you see that, you're like, oh my god, this is such a fucking awesome movie. And like, I held that, and with my other Scorsese movies that I loved, like I held that in my repertoire of like annoying film guy shit to bring up at any potential option, at a party or getting together or whatever. And so then I didn't rewatch the movie for like a few years, right? And so I just had it in my head, this image, and kind of just mixed it together with like, this other kind
The
of
guy
like
from
bullshit
Heathers.
idea of New York. Yeah, just but more specifically, there's this New York thing that it really is immaterial what generation you're in. You grew up in New York, or like even like if you actually grew up there, if you just come there. Like I met so many people then later in my 20s who like had just moved to New York and be like, man, New York has changed. It's like, what, in the 3 months you've been here? But like, when you're like 16, you hold on to dumb ideas like that. And to be fair, there were a number of things I saw in my youth that did dramatically change, around that time. But anyway, the point of this is then like years later, I was going on a date with a girl, a first date, and I saw at like probably at like Film Forum or like maybe IFC. It was probably IFC. Now that I think about it, the theater that chain is or the one spot that's right at West 4th. The heart of the village, baby.
No idea what that is.
like
IFC, yeah, it's got to be IFC.
yeah, right at West 4th, yeah. And like, they were doing like a midnight screening of Taxi Driver. And I was like, oh, what a cool date idea this would be. So we were like texting or whatever. And I was like, have you ever seen Taxi Driver? And she was like, no. And I was like, oh, you're going to love it. Like, this movie is just me written all
Were you
over
like
it.
a 20-year-old
like,
film guy?
cool.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, exactly. And, and I had that like look at, and I was like, yeah, like, this movie, like the main guy in this movie, like that's me.
Oh,
Trying to like be
Scene
cool
in the movie where he takes
I know,
her to
I
the
do.
movie.
Sybil Sharon.
And then we got into the movie, the movie starts out, I was like, "Brr, brr, 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 brr," and I'm like looking across at her, I'm like, I'm so fucking cool. Like, I sneaked in like a tiny little bottle of some, cheap liquor, and I'm like, you wanna sip of this, baby? And she was like, ooh. And we're like watching the movie, and then like at that age, I started to realize like, oh right, the guy in this movie is like a fucking psychopath and a total piece of shit, like and like a horrible guy, and like and then I went through all this backlog shit in my mind. It's like, wait, did I model my life off of Travis Bickle? Like, should I have, like, what? Why did I, like, it just all came back to me at watching the movie, and then it's like in the fucking part of the movie where he's like getting guns and shit, and I look over to the girl and I'm like, yeah,
Just kidding.
And that's, of course, when like the anxious nerd comes out. It's like, I don't porno in fucking Times Square. I don't do that. I don't know. I don't want to do vigilantism. You want to come back and look at my Warhammer?
Oh, God.
You know, like just immediately collapsed in on myself. What a dunce.
This makes me feel good because it makes me think that every like weird 20-year-old film guy that I dated like remembers that stuff shamefully. So thank you for that.
Only the really cool ones.
Only the ones who grew up really cool like you. Yeah.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. The New Yorkers.
Hey, listen.
Hey.
I-
Don't make fun of my working class
I
accent.
really thought that you were like Italian for like the first 6 months that I knew you.
Everybody always says that.
That's really
and I
funny.
don't know if I should take offense.
Hey, everybody always says that.
I'm
are you talking about?
I'm over here half of a fucking steak sandwich hanging out of my mouth. And this
chicken
lady
pie.
comes up to me and she goes, "Hey, paisano." And I say, "Excuse me." Just because I'm loud.
Oh man,
It's good.
I cannot imagine living in any other city if I didn't get to hear those guys on a regular basis.
You don't get to hear him now. You're inside.
I go down to the docks
Gotcha.
and I'm like, hey, listen, I'm hoping you can let me learn how to work a crane gantry because I'm trying to get in the union. Fuck. trying to get a good gig, you know what I'm saying? I need some benefits. I got freaking medications out of my ass I got to afford.
Yeah.
Oh God. They can't feel good talking like that. It cannot feel good.
They're so
I
happy.
don't know what it
so
is.
good.
They feel great.
They are miserable. They hate their families.
No, they're happy.
They hate their friends,
No.
their job.
No.
And they love life.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I would like that for myself.
Oh yeah.
For all my friends. We're all moving to Staten Island. Let's make a compound, a communist compound.
I will
in
move
Tottenham
wherever if I can see my friends.
Yeah, like a fucking anarcho-communist, like
Yes.
decentralized
Yes.
workers' republic.
That's right.
Yeah.
In the middle of Staten Island, just like on a trash heap. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
And our job at the commune is podcasting,
Yes.
which is an essential.
The People's Provisional Government of, the occupied Victory Boulevard.
There's a statue of Jimmy in the little common area.
Rest
that we
in
have.
peace, Jimmy. Fuck. Gone too soon.
Comrade Commissar, let me talk to you a second. I have some important intel on some counter-revolutionary reactionary activity going on in Sector G.
You have to do like every Stalin joke that we did in the DM today, but in that voice.
Three guys are on their train but instead of like Siberia, I'd be like, 3 guys are on the train to go to Brunswick. the first guy.
Caucus.
The first guy says, "What are you in for?" And he goes, "Hey, yo! I spoke at the party plenary committee for regeneration of agricultural production. I spoke in favor of Comrade Frankie. So I got 5 years pulling long shifts in Secaucus. What about you?" He says, "Well, I was at the subsequent plenary planning caucus committee, and at that point the party line had changed, and I denounced Frankie for the fucking boombox that he was, that mook." And so but because it had changed, and then I got 10 years, and then you go to the last guy, and he's sucking on a cigar, he's just sitting there, and they say, "So what's your situation, pally?" And he goes, "Me, I'm fucking Comrade Frankie the whole time. That's the punchline. Hey,
I love you so much, dude.
I got life."
That's
Listen, we're all gonna go on the Goethals Bridge, and we're gonna lock arms because we gotta disrupt their supply chain. Look, they got a FedEx terminal and XPO Logistics in Elizabeth, and the only way that we can bring down the mechanization of capital is if we lock arms in front of the semi-trailer.
oh man.
A point 7 of the reevaluation reclamation committee of North Staten, as we're now calling it. The Verrazano Bridge, his name, is based in colonialist and imperialist naming structures, and I vote that we rename the bridge in favor of Comrade Boglione, who that last night died in a tragic cement accident. And it pans over and he's just like in cement, like Han Solo and Carbonite. Just like fucking...
Listen. Point of order. Listen, we decided in last week's meeting, and I'm looking at you, Comrade Guglielmo, that it's problematic to say you guys when referring to
Use persons of nondescript genders orientations, please, from now on. Use, however, will remain in favor. All's in favor, and they all go, use.
Oh, gosh.
I think we can make this work. God, I already need a fucking Tums by proxy. Fuck. Let's pour our little Pepto-Bismol out for our fucking comrades that have been lost in Gabagool. May they all be having the Gabagool in fucking heaven. If we ever do a live show, we should do it in Staten Island.
Should book it at that restaurant that was like, defying the COVID lockdown.
Max Tavern.
Yeah.
Unironically do that.
Let me get this straight. You want to rent this here VFW hall? And you want to set up a merch table? What are you guys selling, like fucking buttons? Let me see one of these shits.
Now opening for the local chapter of Knights of Columbus, we have Tree Mooks in Joker makeup for some inexplicable reason. Day's coming up now.
Oh man!
All right, that's the podcast.
It's never not funny to me. That voice.
Oh, yeah,
It's
no,
just, I hope the listeners like it, because I could do a whole fucking just an hour block of that. I mean, Cari can attest to this.
He does it all day.
There are times when I get in that voice, I'm just stuck in it for like
all day,
4 hours.
I love it.
And again, I feel like I've said this on the show before, but like that's a real voice to me. That's not just a caricature. Those are like people I grew up with. Those are like,
it's real.
Well, I don't know if it's out of affection, but definitely those are people that like I was surrounded with as a youth.
I have no.
I just love seeing a bunch of tickles, Chris.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good because it's so
The fucking
it's so spot on.
My favorite thing is when I can break Chris, and most recently the episode we did on what's his face, the guy from
Randy Best,
Randy Best, and when we did the mook shit, just watching you fucking just shatter was just it like kept me going. That's when you want to keep the bit going up. You just know you can just say mook one more time, just one more for old time's sake. And it really just works, man.
It's I can't help but remember an episode in my life where I was visiting a buddy, and we went to the gym in Long Island, and in like kind of a nice town too. I don't remember which town it was, but somewhere like in Nassau County or something near the city, like on the North Shore. And I remember being in the locker room, and I was listening to these fucking geezers talk or whatever. And this must have been in like, I want to say 2018. So maybe I remember this was like in the kind of the height of the child separation, family separation from refugees at the border. And I remember this old guy, like a rich looking old guy. Like this was like a nice joint. And the guy was like, two guys were talking. He was like, "Oh, you got to talk to Lenny. He's a Trump guy." And then this Lenny, who's just this like old, you could just like a strong breeze could have pushed him down, but he had a lot of fight in him. And he was like, "Oh, you're talking about the families? Oh, the little babies want to be with their mommies."
Right.
I remember.
And I was like,
I think I remember when this happened. You tell me about it. Yeah.
Fun.
Yes.
Because I also I have many stories of overhearing casual racism in Long Island gyms, mostly in conversations about sports, which always are border on race science.
Yes.
To like
Right.
Long Island
Yes.
gym bros.
Here's a weird one that just came to my mind that I don't think I've said on the show before. But when I was going to school, when I was going to college, undergraduate, and film school up at SUNY Purchase in Westchester, for a semester I was living in the city still. I was like living at home to save money, and so I was commuting on the Metro North every day. And the Metro North, especially when you go like from Manhattan to Westchester, it's like it's all filled with like Wall Street guys, right? It's because I either they live in Westchester and they come down to Lower Manhattan to like work at whatever brokerage, or a lot of huge multinationals have moved their headquarters to Westchester. Like for example, the state school that I went to, right across the street was PepsiCo headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a bunch of others in that area. It was like around like White Plains. So anyway, I would take a very early train, like 6 a.m. So I would catch like all of the commuting crowd. And there was one time there were like 2 like Goomba business guys, like in full suits. And I will never forget it because they had this kind of voice, but they were like talking about like The Economist. They were like, yeah, I read the latest Economist. Can you believe this shit that's going on? There was like 2008, 2009, some like height of the financial crisis. And I remember at one point they started talking like international politics. And I just remember one of the guys saying like, you know what the birth rate of Muslims in France is right now? It's unbelievable. They're overtaking the whites.
No.
And then he said, France is a Islamic country with nuclear weapons. Think about it like that. And the other guy was like, yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about it. Like, I can't wait to tell my family who hates me that the next time I get into an argument with them. And they were just going back, and that was their conclusion. They was, like France is basically Iran at this point with the way that they let them go about and do the whatever. And just the transformation, and that also speaks to like, outside of, again, that voice, which is often caricatured, even by us, as that idea of the, like, whatever, like, working class, like, guy from the Northeast or that particular area, right? Like, it's an aesthetic that is not actually necessarily translates directly to a material class thing, right? Like, those guys were obviously at least some kind of, like, small business owner or, like, middle management guys, and yet they were like, hey, I'm Rocky.
I will cancel
I'm
you
a middle management
for making fun of
I'm a middle management guy at whatever fucking Reichsmark credit union based out of Rochester, New York, and I hate everybody who don't look like me or sound like me, which is 99% of the population.
Most of the guys, before the kind of like algorithmization and computerization of Wall Street, but most of the traders, like the rich traders on the floor, were kind of like just these dudes, like Staten Island dudes.
Oh.
A lot of them didn't have college degrees. They were just
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been in plenty of fucking Long Island boiler rooms with these type of guys who, like, a lot of them, there's just fucking dudes who end up being, rich because they can fucking talk like that and scam people and don't give a shit,
Yeah. Wolf of Wall Street was
stockbrokers. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely a documentary of those guys. I heard somebody. I met somebody at like some party. Like a kind of like a dinner party or something like that, and they were a physician or used to be a physician for a bank and Wall Street, like through the 80s and 90s. Like they were old, boomer age or whatever, and they were just like
cocaine doctor.
Yeah. I mean, basically, people would be coming in there having like panic attacks and borderline, code blue, basically every morning. And then be like, hey, give them some fucking baby aspirin, and they go on their way back to the trading floor. This was their reality, and I'm sure a lot of those people died early and shit. Like, there's no again, speaking speaking to like the impermanence of like longevity with capital of like those systems don't need to run forever. It just needs to run for the for the temporary extraction of fucking value, of profits and shit. And so they just turn and burn them.
I think a lot of them are old and rich and happy.
I'd love to change that,
but they are. Ah, well.
You know what's funny? I was watching. I meant to tell you guys this. the other day, because I missed Succession, and who knows if season 3 will even come out or whatever, and if it's going to be any good, whatever. But I was watching an interview with the fuck is his name, the Scotsman that plays Logan Roy.
Jimmy Dore.
No,
I don't know.
what the fuck? Oh, Jesus Christ! What's he's a Scotch.
I've never watched this show.
Brian Cox.
You can keep calling him. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
Brian Cox.
If you had said the guy who plays Stryker in X2 X-Men United, then I would have known what the fuck you were talking about.
Is that one of the fucking like Batman Superman movies or something that you talk about a lot?
Wow. I can't believe you just said that, dude. That's really fucked up.
So much contempt.
Wow. That was like that must have cut really deep. You can see like the pain.
I know.
The pain in Shane's face.
The next time I get to go to your house, which will be in 10 years,
Yeah.
and you show me your fucking guitar, I'm gonna be like, oh, nice clarinet, and then you'll know how that feels.
Anyway, Brian Cox was on Stephen Colbert, and he was explaining like his the character was a big like media mogul, and he was saying how it was of course based off of like these big media moguls, Rupert Murdoch, and then Conrad Black was an example, and then Stephen Colbert said Sumner Redstone, my boss, and immediately recoiled.
Ugh.
Because this was when Sumner Redstone was still alive.
Now you're playing Rupert Murdoch.
I'm not
Which
playing.
one?
Well, or Conrad Black or whatever.
Or Sumner Redstone,
Yeah,
my boss.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So, do you think Succession?
And he immediately recoiled, and you could see just from that Stephen Colbert, a guy who's probably paid like $10 million a year, whatever the fuck, is terrified of this 90-year-old weirdo. Very interesting. Chris, if you're just joining us, I've completely demoralized Shane by making fun of super.
Shane is giving Dwight the silent treatment now.
Wait, what happened? Shane,
sorry.
What's going on, man?
Shane mentioned an X-Man movie, and Dwight said, is that like a Batman, a Superman movie? Which is almost as bad as the time that Shane was talking to me about like Star Wars, and I said something Star Trek.
No, it was the other way.
Okay, sorry. It was. He remembers. He remembers it.
Yeah,
it was over a year ago, and he remembers it very well.
I remember quite well.
Shane, I apologize for being a rube that doesn't enjoy media.
That's fine.
Oh, man. We'll talk about this after the recording.
Everybody turn your mics off for a second.
No.
We're gonna do like an HR meeting about how you've wronged Shane.
That's right.
Point of order. Last week, during the vegan bake sale, the white rhinoceros himself came up to me and he misspoke and deliberately confused which franchise I was referring to. It made me look like an asshole in front of all of my good friends. And we were trying to raise money for the prison abolition fund that we've got going. So as a point of order, I would like to publicly condemn and denounce the White Rhinoceros for his anti-X-Men activities.
Counter to that. Counterpoint of order. The fact that we are deliberating this at all is a bourgeois indulgence of media, and I believe it has no place here.
Another counter, as Antonio Gramsci said, when it comes to culture, you go to where the proletariats are at, and in this case, superhero films may, although produced under a bourgeois capitalist system, can nonetheless be considered a part of progressive bourgeois culture leading towards revolutionary potential. Let it not be forgotten. I went into
I was about to say that was turning into Bernie.
Counterpoint of order. My cousin Antonio, he actually thinks that the best. I can't do it.
I can't. That could just be part of the bit, right?
Fuck.
50% of this is going to be in that voice.
I'm still coming off of disability because of my collapsed lung.
Why is it that in this show, 50% of the voices are a caricature of hard working class people in New York City.
People that I grew up with.
Oh, Bernie.
Fuck. I'm gonna need a Tums before too long after that one. Fuck. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just a method actor because I've been eating fucking pepperoni all morning.
Dude, I've been crushing pepperoni. like especially that in the last 3 weeks where I have not been drinking as much. I had to fill it with something
Butterfingers.
else.
Can that be the episode title? Can we do that as the episode
Crushing
title?
pepperoni.
I've been fucking. I mean,
crushing
Gary can attest to it.
Dude,
I've been going
he's
to the
gone
store,
through
I
like
wanna say,
5 sticks
every
of
2
pepperoni.
days.
It's insane.
I'll get a fucking full stick, and I'll make a sandwich out of it. I'll use it as a topping on any meal, or I'll just eat it.
The other day I made like beans and toast to have like a meatless day or whatever. This fucker chopped up pepperoni and he put it right in those fucking beans, dude. Right in the baked beans.
It was so good.
Right in the baked beans.
It was so good. It was so good.
Pepperoni in the baked beans.
He's sick, dude.
You can put pepperoni on anything.
It's legal. I mean, I can't stop you.
Everybody knows a Sargento was a counter-revolutionary. Fuck, this is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt tomorrow,
You
man.
still have like another 2
artisanal
hours of recording
pepperoni.
to do while doing this voice.
I know. For those of you who are looking forward, listening to this on the weekend and looking forward to our weekly episode, Dwight's hurting. Dwight's gonna be in a little bit of pain for this one.
I am speaking of our upcoming episode. I have had it occurred to me when we sat down to start recording this episode. I have no idea what's happened in the world this week. I have done literally nothing. Like every spare moment that I was not working or sleeping, and even the times I was working, has been occupied by Scientology.
Oh my god, dude.
Actually, I'm taking a Scientology. Maybe we'll get to this in the next episode, but I'm taking a Scientology online test right now, their personality test, which I would love to get through. But it's like this has got to be like 100 fucking questions. But like, listen to this question: do you browse through railway timetables, directories, or dictionaries just for pleasure?
Yeah, dude.
Yes.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah, just say yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Why would they? I mean,
It's a bizarre
yeah, but why
question.
would they ask that?
I mean, it's all like bunk psychiatry. Like they're just like L. Ron Hubbard just like made up his own version of psychiatry because the real psychiatrists rejected him.
Oh,
course.
sure. If you want to believe what the lamestream media says.
Chris,
about
since you told me
Sure.
about since you sent to the Discord the Scientology network thing, I literally just like every second that I wasn't in a meeting today, I was listening.
Yeah.
It's so. I'll talk about it
I
on
was
the episode.
trying to have
but
fucking conversations with
And I
her
was like,
about
I'm
like
busy.
imminent important shit.
busy.
I fell asleep to the sweet sounds of the Scientology network.
I wish that you told me about it sooner because
Jeez.
I just like there's so much to take in. It's
Vinny, come here a second. I gotta tell you about this guy. You heard of this guy, Zeno?
it's
How's your eating count? How you doing today? Marie, how's your mother? How's her datings?
My doctor sent me to LabCorp down on fucking Olympia Boulevard, and I gotta go get my thetan count drawn out of my fucking arm. Fuck.
Jimmy, you get audited today? All right.
oh god.
All right, I'll see you later. I gotta do the rounds.
We should call it here because we got a big boy
Yeah.
fucking episode
Yeah,
to do.
yeah.
It's gonna be
Oh,
like
yeah.
3 hours.
See if you can guess what this week's episode will be
Oh.
about.
Yeah. So hopefully,
Gonna be about LB Spumoni and fucking delis
I
and
will-
Bay
Hey,
Ridge.
don't you talk shit about Ellen B's.
free myself of this burden after this
let's
episode, dude.
My mortal coil.
Dude, I am clear. I am.
You're going
OT.
clear?
Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely. My fucking thetans off the charts.
All right, let's get this guy off the midichlorians.
Okay.
That's right.
Folks, stay tuned. In a few days, you'll hear it. Stay cool.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Pepperoni. 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 Pepperoni.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Pepperoni.